Hello, my name's Kirk Elwine, and welcome to my office. I'm here to basically gripe a little bit and give my commentary on the sad state of affairs our world is in. The United States in particular, I'm going to start off with first. The other two items do affect some countries in the world. However, the first thing I would like to start off with is the tax bailout in our auto industry. The company that I'm going to hit on is something I have had personal experience with in the last couple of years. I've also had some of the same similar experiences with the other U.S. automakers also. The product that I'm going to be discussing is a speedometer cable and the speedometer tube going to the transaxle on the Ford Taurus LX and GL. Two different size speedometer cables, two different size tubes. For most of you that are in manufacturing, you know you get lower prices with higher quantities. Why weren't these speedometer cables manufactured to the same size and the tubes the same size? No idea. There's no reason for it. There's no interference problems, no fit problems. Either tube could go on either transaxle and work with the proper length speedometer cable. All they needed to do was do it one size. However, tooling costs $25,000 for tool setups for manufacturing an item. You don't have a guy just sitting there whittling it out. And then you have the difference in price between lengths. You got a longer length and a shorter length. They're not charging you the same. The manufacturer of those items aren't charging the same price for each. They're charging a little bit more for the longer, a little bit less for the smaller. Well, let's just say there's a $2 price difference. You could have went with the smaller if you had a longer tube, whatever, but you'd have two different items. So in the long run, if you got a million LX cars and a million GL cars, excuse me, you could have a difference of $2 million in those cars. No, make that $4 million because you're talking the tube length and the speedometer cable. Both of them could be the same size, and they didn't make it that way. So who pays? You, the consumer, and you're probably paying more than the $2. But just think, on those 2 million vehicles, that's $4 million. My next is another company I used to work for that had operations overseas. They worked with telecommunication power supplies, and they had manufacturing facilities that were just starting up when I was working for the company in China, and they had in Mexico. I had an engineering meeting with the owner of a company for a special product, and when I got there I was a little early, and they had moved the engineering meeting back a little bit, so I had a little chance for a one-on-one with the owner of the company. He expressed his displeasure with jobs moving overseas, but he did say he was in business to make money. And since our country, the United States, was giving him tax breaks and incentives to have his company, part of his manufacturing facilities in China and Mexico, he said he was going to keep it that way because he could have a 75% failure rate from China and still make a profit, where he couldn't make a profit with a 25% failure rate in the United States. Now, we're not talking $5, $10, $15 products. We are talking $100,000, $250,000 products. These are very big power supplies. Just to give you an example, he said the country wouldn't, not even the state, would give him tax breaks for hiring more of our people in the United States to work in his company and to keep some facilities there. And from what I understand now, most of his facilities are closed in this country. He has his China, Mexico, and 2 places in New Jersey. My last one was with another company that I worked for who does international work all over. They've probably been affected by the auto industry, but they manufacture tools, and we did testing of these tools. And while I was there, 2 months after I was there actually, I mentioned about bushing material that we were using. I asked if that could be incorrect. My boss told me I didn't know what I was talking about. I told him a simple hardness test would tell whether they were the correct shoes or not. And he went on to explain that these systems were in place for 30 years, and who was I to second guess what the engineers did. After 2 years of working for this company and having many problems with the test systems for these tools, we had a specialized project came through that required all the original stuff designed for these systems. But it didn't work. We had one system which did. So I decided to take these bushings and do a hardness test on my own, discovering that 3 sets out of 4 were totally different from each other. And the hardness of these bushings went 10 to 15 times higher than what they should have been. So you say, how does this affect us? Well, the tools we test, you test for life till they break. We weren't having failures that were matching failures that were happening with real people using the real tools. So therefore, you can't make design changes. You can't make them better. They thought they were making them better in areas they didn't need to make them better. And eventually, the hard feelings between me and my boss led to my being no longer with the company. However, the company will still have those problems because they'll probably go right back to the old bushings. I'd forced them to find the correct bushings for them, and when we did get the correct material in, everything ran beautifully. My boss had told me that the material change came 10 years earlier. There was no write-up in engineering. Nobody knew this thing was changed. Only a couple people knew it was changed. Why? It was probably easier for a lot of people to get the cheaper material and therefore not test tools properly. Again, this boils down to who pays for this. Well, if you got to test the same tool 10 or 15 times over, the consumer pays. Again, eventually, maybe the taxpayer will pay too if our country has to bail that company out for making bad decisions. But it's left up with small people who don't know what they're doing. And if they've been there for 30 years like my boss was, the company's more inclined to back them up because they're a lifer, as they consider it. I would have liked to have been a lifer too, but I'm there to, I work in engineering, and I'm there to make the products better, to make the company better, to make the company more money, to make me more money, to make everyone happy. End product is a little cheaper, everybody is happy all the way around. However, that's not what's happening in this world today. And I'm going to have a few more commentaries here in the future hitting on CEO pay versus the low man on the totem pole pay, which you'll find out is about 5,000 times different. Now, would you like to make 5,000 times more than what you're making currently? Oh, you betcha. I'd like to make 100 times more than what I'm making currently. And I'd be happy with that. I'd be ecstatic. I'd go on vacation everywhere. My wife would love me. My kids would love me. My friends would be, hey, that's a happy guy. Well, about time out here, so you people have something to chew on. You have a great night, and I'll talk to you on my next commentary. Thank you, and have a great day.